Hello students, and a very good morning to you. Students, today we are going to study chapter 5 of class 8th science, that is combustion and flame, and this is the first part of this chapter. Now let's have a look what we are going to study in this chapter. In this chapter we will be discussing about combustion, what are the conditions which are required for combustion, types of combustion, flame, fire extinguisher. We will study about fuels and different kinds of fuels, about their efficiency and burning of fuels. So in this part of the chapter we will discuss about combustion, conditions required for this, types of combustion and flame, and in next part we will discuss about fire extinguisher, about fuels and their different types and burning of fuels. Now students, in our daily life, we see a lot of materials that burn. We see the burning of paper, we see the burning of candle, we see the burning of wood, coal, LPG, we see the burning of magnesium ribbon also. We have studied about the burning of magnesium ribbon, that it burns with a dazzling white light. Then we see the burning of LPG that burns with a blue flame. So all these things, they burn and they produce flame. Sometimes they do not produce flame, as we see the burning of coal. Coal does not produce any type of flame. So in this chapter we will study about the process of combustion, means how these substances burn and which type of flame is produced by them. That is why the first chapter that we are going to start is combustion. So combustion is the process of burning, and we know students that when any substance burn, then it burns in the presence of oxygen, because oxygen is the supporter of combustion. It is a supporter of burning, means any material, any substance burns in the presence of oxygen. Oxygen is very important, it is very necessary to be present. So the process of burning of a substance in the presence of oxygen, this process is called combustion. And in this process, heat and light are evolved. These two things are released. Now first of all we will see the example of charcoal. So this is carbon, charcoal is carbon. So when it burns in the presence of oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide gas and heat. When methane gas, it is a natural gas, when burned, when it burns in the presence of oxygen, then it produces carbon dioxide, water vapor and heat. Just like that, when magnesium ribbon burns in the presence of oxygen, means in the presence of air, when it is burned, then it also produces a dazzling white light in the form of white glow, that is dazzling white light, and it also produce a powdery mass of magnesium oxide. So these examples are the burning of substances, means these are the examples of combustion. Now next topic is conditions necessary for combustion. So there are three conditions which are necessary or which are required for combustion to take place. First of all, presence of a combustible substance, then presence of a supporter of combustion, that is oxygen, and attainment of ignition or kindling temperature of the combustible substance. So these three are the conditions which are necessary for combustion to take place. Now first of all we will discuss, that is presence of a combustible substance. So it is very important, it is very necessary for a combustible substance to be present for combustion, means when the process of burning take place, then there should be one substance that burn. That substance is combustible substance. Now substances can be classified as two types: combustible substances and non-combustible substances. So the substances that undergo combustion, the substances that burns in the presence of oxygen, these substances are called combustible substances, as charcoal, natural gas, paper, wood, etc. These substances burn in presence of oxygen, and they produce heat, light, and other residues also. Now, some substances are there that do not burn, means that do not undergo combustion. These substances are called non-combustible substances, as for example, water, sand, glass, stone, etc. Students, these substances can be heated, but they cannot be burnt. Now, the next condition is presence of supporter of combustion, means oxygen. So we know the supporter of combustion is oxygen, and it must be present in sufficient amount, in sufficient quantity for combustion to take place. Means if any substance is to be burnt, there should be presence of supporter of combustion. In the presence of that, the substance will burn, the substance will undergo combustion, and that is oxygen. So one activity you can do to prove that oxygen is important for combustion to take place, means oxygen is required for burning. So what you have to do, you have to take a lighted candle. Suppose this is the lighted candle. So you have to light this candle, and you have to burn it with a glass jar or any beaker. You have to cover it, and you have to observe it for some time. After some time, you will observe that this candle will stop burning. Why? Because when it was not covered, then sufficient amount of oxygen was present in the atmosphere, and it keeps on burning. But as soon as you cover it with the glass jar or with any beaker, then what happened? The oxygen which is present in that inverted glass jar or beaker, it is used up by the lighted candle in the process of combustion. Okay, and the candle burns till oxygen is present in the air inside the inverted glass. And as soon as the oxygen finished or from the air, then this candle, it blows off, means it extinguishes. Why? Because now no more oxygen is present in the glass jar. So it proves that oxygen is very important for the process of combustion or the process of burning. Now, third condition for the process of combustion is attainment of ignition or kindling temperature. Now, what is it? Students, you all know all the substances that burn, they burn at some particular temperature. So that temperature at which or above which a particular substance starts burning, that temperature is called its ignition temperature or kindling temperature. Means all substances that burn in the presence of oxygen, these substances have their particular temperature at which or above which they starts burning, and that temperature is called the ignition temperature or kindling temperature. As for example, white phosphorus burns at 35 degrees Celsius, means 35 degrees Celsius is the ignition or kindling temperature of white phosphorus. Then red phosphorus, it starts burning at 260 degrees Celsius temperature, means 260 degrees Celsius temperature is the ignition temperature for red phosphorus. One more thing, a substance will never burn, it will not catch fire if its temperature is lower than its ignition temperature. Means for any substance to burn, it is very important, it is very necessary to attain its ignition or kindling temperature. Even we give a lot of oxygen, means if that substance is combustible, it burns very easily, lot of oxygen is present, then also if that particular substance will not attain its ignition temperature, the temperature of that substance is lower or below than ignition temperature, then that substance will not burn, it will not undergo combustion. So this is also a very important condition for the process of combustion, that is ignition or kindling temperature. Now you can understand it by one simple activity. What you have to do in this activity, you have to take one aluminum foil and you have to make a hole in it. Now you have to take a lighted candle and you have to slide the metal foil, that aluminum foil, just below the flame and above the melted wax. Means that foil should be in between the flame and the melted wax, as you can see in the image. Now observe it. After some time you will find that the candle flame first it reduces and then it extinguishes. Why? Because when we place that metal foil or aluminum foil below the flame and above the melted wax, then what it do, it brings down the temperature of the melted wax below its ignition temperature. And when the melted wax, means when the wax will come below the ignition temperature, its temperature will come below its ignition temperature, then the candle flame extinguishes. It means that for any substance to burn, it is very important to have its ignition or kindling temperature. Now, next topic is types of combustion. So there are three types of combustion. First is rapid combustion. Now, what is rapid combustion? When any combustion reaction takes place at very high speed, and in that combustion reaction a huge amount of heat and light both are produced, then this type of combustion is called rapid combustion. So as for example, when you bring the burning matchstick or gas lighter near the gas stove and when its knob is turned on, then that gas, means LPG gas, it immediately starts burning with release of heat and light. So this this process of combustion takes place at very high speed and you will see the heat and light both. So this type of combustion is called rapid combustion. Now next type of combustion is spontaneous combustion. So what is a spontaneous combustion? In this type of combustion, any substance suddenly bursts into flame without any external heating or any apparent cause. Means without any cause any substance will suddenly burst into flame, and that type of combustion is called spontaneous combustion. So as for example, forest fire is an example of spontaneous combustion, and it is generally caused due to sun's heat or because of lightning also. The burning of white phosphorus is also spontaneous combustion, because as it will be out in the presence of oxygen or it is exposed in the air, then when it will get its ignition temperature, that is 35 degrees Celsius only, so it will start burning, means it will go under combustion. So this type of combustion is spontaneous combustion. Now next type of combustion is explosion. This is the third type of combustion. So what is explosion? In this type of combustion or in explosion, in the process of explosion, a very large amount of gas is evolved, but along with that large amount of gas, a very great amount of, a very tremendous amount of heat, light and sound, they are also produced. So the process where a large amount of gas along with a very great amount of, a very tremendous amount of heat, light and sound, they are also produced, this type of combustion is called explosion. So the example of explosion, you all know, the fireworks. When we use fireworks on different occasions in many festivals, so in there also when these crackers they are burst, they are ignited, so they produce a very great amount of, a very large amount of gas along with heat, light and sound. So this is explosion. Now the next topic is flame. So what is flame? You all have seen flame when the candle burns. You in a lighted candle you can see flame. When LPG burns, then also you can see flame. When paper burns or when coal burns, coal it generally do not burn with flame, but that lightning you can see. So some substances when they burn, they produce flame, and some substances when they burn, they do not produce any type of flame as coal. So what is flame? Flame is the visible and light emitting. Light emitting means it emit light also. So it is a visible and light emitting gaseous part of a fire. When you see fire, then that part which is visible to our eyes, which emit light, and it consists of gases also, it produces gases also, this part is called flame. This part of fire is called flame. So flame is simply visible light emitting part of the fire. Then when fire means when any substance burns, it produces different type of flames, means the color of the flame also varies. So the color of the flame, it depends on the nature of combustible substance, means which type of combustible substances is this, and what are the substances present in that particular material, and the amount of oxygen supply also, means what is the amount of oxygen present, means a lot of oxygen present or very small amount of oxygen present. So the color of the flame depends on the nature of combustible substance and the amount of oxygen supply. As you can see, or the candle flame or the lantern or the Bunsen burner or the LPG flame, they all are having different colors. So the color depends on these two factors. Now we have to discuss about the candle flame. So candle flame, it is divided into three zones: the innermost zone, the middle zone, and the outermost zone. And this is very easily, it is visible in this image also. You can see three zones are there. So first of all, we will discuss about the innermost zone of the candle. So this innermost zone of the candle, it is generally black in color or dark in color, means it is the dark zone of the candle. Why? Because in this part of the candle flame, there is lack of oxygen, and when there is lack of oxygen, means when there is no oxygen present, then you know that if oxygen is not present, then no combustion will take place. That is why the wax which is present here, it is unburnt, and this is the least hot region of the candle flame. Now next zone is middle zone. So in middle zone, as compared to the innermost zone, some amount of oxygen is present in the middle zone. That is why here partial combustion takes place. And when some amount of oxygen present, means when partial combustion takes place, so the wax which is present here, it burns, and it produces wax vapor with the yellow flame. Okay, so the color of the middle zone is yellow, and this zone, because partial combustion is taking place and wax is converting in the wax vapor, that is why this zone has moderately hot temperature, means it is more hot temperature than as compared to the innermost zone. And yes, this is yellow in color, so it emit light also. That is why this zone is called luminous zone. Now come to the outer zone. The outermost zone is the zone where a lot of oxygen is present. Why? Because you can see this zone is directly, it is in the contact of oxygen, so lot of oxygen is present. That is why complete combustion of the wax vapor takes place. Wax vapor, because in middle zone wax is converting in the wax vapor, so that wax vapor is completely burnt in outermost zone where a lot of oxygen is present, sufficient amount of Oxygen is present because it is in direct contact of the air or oxygen, and the color of this flame is blue. And the wax which completely burns here, it produces carbon dioxide, water vapor, and heat. And yes, this reason is the hottest part of the candle flame, means this is the hottest part. Its temperature is high as compared to all others, means both middle zone and innermost zone. So this is all about your candle flame. Now in the next part of this chapter, we will discuss the next topics. Thank you, students.